So I'm going to run this trailer. I don't think anyone's seeing this yet, but and then I'm going to start this live right now.
Feeling stuck inside, needing to rock? Feed your soul at the air drum party.
You know you're an air drummer. Come out of the closet. I did.
I find myself sitting there and air drumming along to all my favorite records.
Totally relates to the air drumming thing. I would make these wonderful drum sets out of magazines and then beat the covers on.
Right now, Adventures of Power, the cult movie about air drumming, is teaming up to raise money for musicians in need and to rock your pants off.
Music is not about having arms. Music is about having spirit.
With a free online watch party where you can chat with the cast, comedians, and celebrity drummers. Who knows who might stop by? Save the world. Feel the rock. Be the power. Come to airdrummer.com.
We want to see you
rock.
You can do it.
Do it! Do it! Come on! Do it now!
Hi, everybody. I'm going to turn my phone volume down so we don't have an echo. Hopefully that works. So, hello, Dave. As some of you know, my name's Ari Gold. I directed the movie Adventures of Power, which is about air drumming. Neil Peart is in it. And, you know, it's a big extravaganza about the absurdity of not having drums. And I'm here with Dave Lombardo, who not only has drums, there's an echo, apparently. Okay.
I got it. It was me.
Oh, okay. And I'm so honored to be talking with someone who, as I said yesterday, I feel a little bit like Mike Patton must have felt when his high school demo was turned into, you know, a completely insane and heavy record last year, right before lockdown. But it's an incredible honor to be with you, Dave, and to get an opportunity to talk about drumming and air drumming and all the different projects you've been involved in and the way you've been such an influence on several generations of drummers and musicians. So nice to re-meet you.
Likewise, I'm honored to be sitting here with the master air drummer. Yeah.
I am in the Guinness Book. It's my claim to fame in life. I'm in the Guinness Book for air drumming. Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about how, you know, what I wanted to talk about with you. And one of the things that's so beautiful about your drumming is you seem to go into another state of like when you're drumming. First of all, watching you, I feel like I'm watching a camera that's sped up. Like it doesn't seem possible.
Well,
but yeah, but you have a total relaxation in your core, and then your limbs are doing something insane. And I'd love to, you know, just ask you if you can describe, if you can, as poetically or unpoetically as you like, the state of being that you get into when you're drumming.
Well, the way I've experienced it is I would connect it with like or compare it to a runner or an athlete that or even a boxer that is psyched before a show. You know, you get into this mode, the adrenaline starts pumping through your body. You know, your heart rate jumps several BPMs before you even start playing. When I'm sitting at a hotel room, you know, several hours before, I'm already, my adrenaline's already kicked in and I'm going through the parts and, you know, everything is just getting ready for that moment on stage. I think that mental state that I get into is it has to be the endorphins or, you know, obviously it has to be the endorphins, the adrenaline, and it just puts me in this zone. And like I mentioned, a boxer, when you have the like in the Rocky movie where it says, you know, you got the eye of the tiger, you know, you're like, you're there, you're ready to go, you're focused. And that seems to where I go, but it seems like it happens naturally. It's like I'm just there. And I've only realized that recently in my career, recently within the past 15 years, you know. So that I've realized, you know, this thing that happens, and it's euphoric for me. It's a musical place where I'm addicted to it. I've noticed during this pandemic that it's the one thing that I miss the most. Everybody, you know, yeah, you could play drums, you know, in your studio, your room, your garage, and listen to music, but nothing is like being on stage and feeling the heat of the lights, connecting with the drums, the power of the speakers resonating behind you, your monitors, you know, the echo in the studio, or I'm sorry, the venue, you know.
Right.
Just everything is just like it all comes together at that moment, and it's almost an explosion. And the end of the night, it takes time to come down from that musical high, and you just you embrace it and you love it. And
Yeah, I mean, as far as addictions go, you know, it keeps you in shape, and you know, the release of Adventures of Power supports music cares, and so we're trying to help people who deal with addictions that aren't so healthy. But it's, you know, the way you describe being on stage is, you know, it seems like a wonderful place to be. I think runners get that. I get that surfing in my own way, and it's anything that brings you to an extreme state of presence. You know, I was actually in Cuba, and I know, you know, you're Cuban, although you left when you're 2 years old, but I know you still feel emotionally connected to that country. And I was in Havana, and I passed, there was like a ground floor apartment where like the kitchen was like basically almost in the street. And there was a guy in his underwear. It was like a really hot night, in his underwear with timbales, like jamming, like going crazy on the timbales to and the television was playing some like Cuban band, and he was playing along with it. And his wife was sitting in a folding chair, just kind of like fanning herself and nodding. And like, that was his version of getting in the zone, is, you know, jamming on the timbales in his underwear. And you know, we all have our own way of doing that. You happen to be, you know, a drum king, and you do it in front of many thousands of people, but some people do it in front of their wife and a folding chair. But you performing is performing.
That to me would be as exhilarating, as exciting. If that was, because I'll never forget being a kid in my room with my drum set in the corner in the bed, you know, and then I have my stereo in another corner and a little dresser, and cranking up my stereo and playing along. And the feeling I have on stage, I was feeling that as a kid in the room.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, I've always asked, because of, I made a movie about air drummers, and Neil Peart and I, of course, talked about air drumming before he did the movie, and he said that, yeah, he was playing magazines on his bed. He had laid out a bunch of different magazines on different pillows, and he would beat them until the covers fell off. And what'd you say?
I did that with books.
With books?
Different thicknesses of books. I would lay them out and
to create different tones.
In tones, yeah.
Did you set up, because of your famous double bass drumming? Did you set up books on the floor too to create different tones? No, you hadn't invented that yet.
I was only a single bass drummer at the time.
Okay. Well, you had to start somewhere. You're going to move to triple feet soon enough. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you. Although, you know, have you seen Terry Bozzio's drum set?
Oh God, yes.
He has like all the notes of the scale in bass drums. So he can go in a circle and play, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, in a circle. It's crazy.
Yeah. I heard he could perform a Miles Davis song on his drum set, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So obviously a lot of people think of you because of, your pioneering thrash metal, but, you play with John Zorn, you play with Fred Frith, you play with a lot of really interesting experimental. Obviously Mike Patton is also in that kind of nether world between like hardcore and, almost intellectual experimental music. Do you, what do you prefer? I guess I can't say what you prefer because you love playing, but like, how does one nurture the other, I guess would be a way to phrase it.
Where, let's say a band like Suicidal or Misfits or any, like a metal band or a rock band that I would play with, where you play a set list consistently every night, except for Phantomus, Patton would change the set around every night. We'd have a set for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all different set lists. Mm-hmm. And he said, let's say it's Saturday, and he'll say, let's do Tuesday. So it'd be the Tuesday set list. Uh-huh. So he would flip it around, which would make it really exciting. But where a band, a regular band, would play the same set list every night, a band like working with Zorn or Bill Laswell, and performing like the avant-garde improvisation style of music, I look at that as being a cleansing almost, mm-hmm. from the constant same set list every single night.
Right.
So when I interject like one of those shows, 2 or 3 times a year, an improvisation show, I would feel like it's a cleansing. It's it's kind of reset button for me for drumming. So then when I go back to the normal, set list band that I would play in, whether it's Misfits, Suicidal, or even Dead Cross, it would become more fresh.
Right.
It'll be. I would bring in some ideas from the performance, from an improv performance. I would bring it in to the to a live show, like for example, the more structured set list.
So when you play, if you've played with Zorn or Refresh Yourself, and then you go to do a Suicidal Tendencies mini tour, where especially when you're playing music that, other drummers laid down tracks in the studio decades ago, how much can you bring your fresh spirit, your improvisation into that? Or how do you find that middle ground between being Dave Lombardo, which, obviously a lot of fans will be like, oh, this band just got 3 times as good and he's blowing everyone it's out of the water, and there's some like weird flack, but you also want to respect the original recording. So how can you be yourself in that?
There's always a little section, a little part in the song. Let's say it could be a drum roll, it could be a little bell hit in between a break, just something to show your personality, just like a little spurt, just a little pizzazz, a sprinkle of salt, a little pepper, a little garlic, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's how you do it, but you still keep the respect of the original recording. Right. In my situation with the Misfits, where the songs, have a very structured sound or a very structured songwriting style. There's really not much room,
Hmm.
but where I will add my stamp would be like the Dave Lombardo stamp would be in uh, uh, in the beat, in the rhythm. You know, you just make sure
Right.
that that's driving every time, that it's
Right.
just on point. You know, every change, every cymbal hit
Yeah, I
is
mean, your hi-hat work is obviously a big part of what makes you special, and the way you're able to be incredibly fast and at the same time in a pocket, which is not something a lot of people know how to do. So
it's that wrist, you know.
yeah, yeah. So um, and that makes sense. And then occasionally a fill, you can be Dave, even though it's an older track. I mean, your fills are so interesting too. Like I've heard some people describe them as like feeling like they're running backwards. Um, is that something that like you learned? I mean, is that did Bill Ward influence you at all with that? Because I feel a little like flavor of early Sabbath in some of that kind of architecture of a fill.
I absorbed so much in my in the early years of my drumming that it, Bill Ward definitely was an influence.
Hmm.
I
By the
don't
way,
know.
can I just interrupt for 1 second? Can
Yeah.
you turn down the volume on your phone? Because I think your phone and your iPad might be feeding back to each other.
Uh, the
If
phone is off.
Oh, the phone volume is off.
Yeah, the phone.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
not sure what it is. No one's going to die. There's a little echo, but people will survive.
okay. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know.
It's like we're in a stadium.
I hear it. Yeah,
It's okay.
it bothers me. But
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, Bill Ward. Sorry, I cut you off.
yeah, there had to have been somewhere along the line that his style influenced me. I don't know particularly where. I remember purchasing the album Paranoid and listening to that album consistently through my high school years, my early, let's say ninth, 10th grade. And then, so that would have been probably 75, 76.
Yeah, that would have been like when when that kind of metal was even at, you would have been slightly scared of that metal and intrigued by it at that age as you were to be a
Yeah,
kid.
I
And
love
so like the speaker is like melting into the carpet and it's going to go down all the way to hell.
it. Yeah, I
So
remember.
heavy.
I remember one time visiting a friend in high school, visiting his house, and he played "We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll," a Led Zeppelin album, double album, and he had banked in his bedroom, and his mom would bang on the door. That's the devil's music. And I'm like, whoa, it's awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I love
Yeah, I
it.
mean, in Adventures of Power, the girl that my air drummer character falls in love with is deaf, and you find out she's lost her hearing at a rock concert, and her mother is a hardcore Christian and accuses her of dancing to devil's music when she sees me air drumming to Hellbent for Leather by Judas Priest. So, yeah, I mean, it was a real thing. I mean, I have to say, when I was a kid, I was a little scared of Slayer. I was a little scared, and that fear is part of what, like when you're an adolescent, that fear is what becomes the attraction.
Yeah.
Like a horror film or whatever. It's a. I mean, how much as a drummer, like, and not just back then, but like now working with Patton, and how much do you think about the lyrics that are going with your drumming? Does it cross your mind, or is it influence what you play, or not really?
Not really. It does sometimes, depending on the line and where it falls in the song, it'll gravitate. It'll lift the song for me a little bit. Maybe I'll hit the drums a little harder because it's saying this particular line, whatever it may be, and it'll it'll drive me a little bit more to be a little more aggressive, whatever the line could be, uh, It sometimes does, yes, definitely boosts the drumming sometimes.
Right. I mean, I can imagine it'd be more like in a little break when the singer screams something, and you use that as your like motivator to come back in on the one or whatever, you know. Um, but do you ever write lyrics?
No.
Never
No.
tried? I mean, you do art. You've done visual art, so you're branching out. I think maybe
Yeah, visual art.
you're an articulate guy. Maybe it's time to like force one of your bands to like put some Lombardo lyrics in there.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of stay away from that. I focus more on the the structure, the composition. Uh, music. Make sure it flows, and um, musically for me, that's my forte. That's where I like to dabble.
Yeah, yeah. So wait, when you are you doing any visual art these days, or is that like a thing you did as a I don't
No,
know at one point?
no. I just did that Rhythm Mysterium, which was through Scene 4, where we photographed. Uh, they photographed me with these sticks that had lights in them, and something with the exposure of the camera. I'm not too sure how they did it, but then I went
Let's
in.
be honest. It was kind of a Burning Man art style. I know that's not necessarily your scene,
You
flying sticks
surprised?
of light. Have you been to Burning Man?
No, I haven't, but I'm a mean DJ, man.
Oh yeah. So okay, so your DJ set. What's gonna be in your in your
Oh
in your DJ set?
God, I
I
don't
don't
know.
want to put you on the line, but
You can't even imagine what my iPod, or was once my iPod, now my iTunes consists of. So it varies from many different genres.
mhm. Is
So
there a genre that you will not listen to or play?
um,
And Willie Nelson doesn't count as country. That's its own category.
country always comes up. No,
Well, it does because, like,
I
you
like
know,
the
for
old school country, which is the Willie Nelsons, the Johnny Cash,
Waylon,
Waylon Jennings.
yeah,
Um, God, there's so many. The classic guys,
yeah,
um, those guys were great.
the
Some of
dirty ones.
the New York country I can't get into.
Yeah, yeah, I have trouble with it too. I have
Yeah.
trouble with it too. So, so a band like Dead Cross, and then mixing that with Mr. Bungle, so you have like a couple patent experiences. What sides of your personality get to play out in these different acts that you're in now? Like, do you guys put on different hats in those different outfits?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you guys put on like different personalities when you're playing in those bands? Or is there like a power dynamic shift?
Well, Red Cross, obviously the Mr. Bungle music was written, before, I was ever in the band. So there was, a set song structure. So I just gave it my personality and my spirit.
Right.
With Dead Cross, it's a little more personal. Dead Cross has more of my creativity. When we write the songs, it's usually the guitar player and I. We go into the studio and we improvise, and we just get creative and try to find the most brutal drum rhythms and guitar, chords and structures that we can, and we record those and kind of piece them all together and create these little bodies of work. So I believe Dead Cross would have more of my, my personality or my spirit.
Right. For now, I mean,
Yeah.
because you're a full cranking member, Mr. Bungle, now, so you can
Yeah.
the next recording, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the craziness of sort of the flavor of that feels like it would be fun to, because anything goes as long as it's fucking insane, right?
Yeah. And Mr. Bungle, it's amazing because those those songs were influenced by Anthrax and Slayer, and so I could relate to that body of work, and it connects, it resonates, with myself.
By the way, we might need to change the subject to suicidal because Rod Diaz is in the chat saying hi.
Hey, Rob, he just got the gig with Korn.
I know, and I interviewed Ray. So Ra, if you're out there listening, you have to like poke Ray in the nose for me. But that's awesome that you'll be out with Korn.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, he can't. I can't hear what he's saying back, but I'm sure he can hear us. So hi there, Ra. You are raw and raw.
Raw.
I'd love to know if you have advice for drummers or musicians, because obviously a lot of people watching right now are, admirers of yours and aspiring to be great. And what do you have any anything you've learned that you could share with people?
Well, I've been, my career has gone up and down, and I'm not on the merry-go-round. I'm on the roller coaster. So it's a bit exciting, Not saying the merry-go-round isn't, but I find the roller coaster a lot more exciting because you go through a lot of experiences that if you were in a band for the same band for many years, you don't get to experience the low points. And some of those low points are difficult sometimes, but they also, it creates character, and, it thickens your skin, so you can go through anything. So my advice is, through my career and everything I've experienced, is to never, to always be happy playing music at whatever level you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I've, when I left Slayer in 2013, I found myself going from huge stages, huge crowds, to playing with another band that I had at the time, in front of small clubs. And so I did that for several years, and then slowly got back up, suicidal. Then I got into the Misfits. I created Dead Cross, now in Mr. Bungle. So it doesn't matter where you play, even if you're air drumming in your room, even if you don't have a drum set, as long as you're playing and feeling that music, that is, I feel, the most important element in being happy as a musician. You have to be content with what life is giving you at the time. And for me, like I said, I've gone through it.
Yeah.
Some people, you play in Slayer.
Yeah, and some people hit that bottom and they don't do what you did, which is you keep playing. And if you're playing for a small club after playing a giant arena, and that's why there's so many people who love you, is because you're not just an amazing drummer, but you're actually a testament. And that's could be a testament reference, but no, you're a testament to resilience. Yeah, I mean, the Adventures of Power is about someone who has nothing. He has no drums. He loses his job, and he tries to make something out of that. And it's a comedy. It's ridiculous, but it's a powerful message. And then there are link up with Music Cares, which has been really helping people during the last, always, it's been helping musicians for a long time, but particularly during this really hard time when, touring musicians, but also roadies and, people on the sort of not the big marquee names of the business, really struggling to survive either with addiction or just food insecurity or whatever. And so I want to encourage everyone to support Music Cares if you got any spare cash. If you've watched Adventures of Power on Amazon Prime or buy it on Vimeo, where you support Music Cares with your earnings. So watching the movie, even for free on Prime, is helpful. Do you have any Music Cares stories that you be comfortable sharing? Or
well, we Mr. Bungle, I believe Mr. Bungle. I believe we released a T-shirt, or maybe it was Dead Cross. I don't remember. Early on in the pandemic, early 2020. Man, that feedback is insane.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to stop it. I mean, we could put on headphones. If you have headphones, maybe that would stop it. You want to try? Do you have any nearby?
Yes, I do.
All right. So, we're singing a song right now. This isn't radio silence. It's just we're going to get headphones and see if this fixes it. Okay. You would think that a musician, a world-class drummer, and a not that world-class director would know how to use testing. Testing. Not working. Can you hear me? What happened? Testing again. Oh my God, did I lose you? Can you hear me? Hold on a second. I believe in myself. The Instagram people can still hear probably, but nothing. Does our tech guy know I can't hear you. Dave, John. I think my mic is working. Wow, in order to stop an echo, we stopped everything. Can you hear me, Dave? I can't hear him. You know what? Maybe if you can hear me, we'll sign out and sign back in. We're going to sign out and sign back in. Hold on a second. I'm going to turn this off, folks, if you can hear me, and then I'm going to start it.